Bethany was just far enough away from Jerusalem to give Jesus and his disciples some quiet time. About an hour after the Sabbath ended at sunset, people began to arrive in Bethany from Jerusalem. Those who had gone ahead to Jerusalem spread the news in Jerusalem that Jesus had come to Bethany. As soon as the Sabbath was over, groups of people came to Bethany in the growing darkness, not only to see Jesus, but also to see Lazarus. Back in Jerusalem, the chief priests made plans to kill both Jesus and Lazarus because so many turned to Jesus in faith since he had raised Lazarus from the dead. When the sun rose the next morning, the little village of Bethany looked like a busy market. People were everywhere, talking, listening, and waiting for a glimpse of Jesus or Lazarus. Jesus had come to celebrate the Passover. In spite of the opposition of the chief priests, he led the crowd toward Jerusalem. It must have been as if all the miracles of Jesus, all his sermons, all his parables, and yes, all the Old Testament prophecies reached their highest point, like one steady, triumphant swelling of enthusiasm and celebration. Just before reaching Jerusalem, Jesus stopped and sent 2 disciples to the little village of Bethphage on the Mount of Olives for a donkey colt. The praise of the people burst into a loud and continuous shout of Hosanna as Jesus mounted the colt and rode on toward Jerusalem. Again and again the people shouted, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" Some spread their cloaks on the road in front of the colt. Others climbed the palm trees and cut branches down to spread before the Lord. Some Pharisees in the crowd wanted Jesus to restrain the excitement, but Jesus replied, "If they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." Then from the hillside, Jesus saw Jerusalem. Jesus stopped and wept. His tears were not from joy over finally reaching Jerusalem or over the hosannas shouted by the crowd. Instead, they were tears of sorrow over the unbelief in Jerusalem. Below, Jesus saw the temple. There the chief priests had resolved to kill him. Jesus was walking into the stronghold of Satan, and he wept for them. What love Jesus had not only for us, but for his enemies. What a day! What an event! On the day when Jews were to select the lamb for the Passover celebration, Jesus, the Lamb of God, came to the temple. He was God's choice, his sacrificial lamb brought to Jerusalem for slaughter. The disciples did not understand all this until after Jesus was glorified. We have the advantage of looking back at these events through the eyes of those same disciples after they had understood it all. Palm Sunday was a great event because God's plan was only a week from completion. God had talked about it for centuries, as far back as Adam and Eve. Finally, it was happening, and I understand. I am moved to praise too.